Hi, it's Mike Ferry, and welcome back to Mike Ferry TV, and welcome to the week of January 21st. As some of you know, this is the week of our annual one-on-one retreat in San Diego, California. We've got a great crowd of 2,000 plus excited, motivated, enthused, energized, and great agents. And I hope that someday each of you can be there at this retreat also. Some of you are probably there right now watching this in the evenings, okay, during the retreat times. I hope you are. We're going to continue our series of 100 plus thoughts on listing property. I think if you've been watching the first couple weeks, you'll notice that I have a lot of conviction on this topic of listing property. I think you're probably catching on that my belief in what you have to do is very strong. As I said to an audience one day, and a couple of the people got very excited, some got very mad. Most of them didn't know how to take what I'm going to tell you next. Here's what I said to an audience one day. Your biggest nightmare is I get my license, I come into your town, and I become your competitor. Because I'm going to beat you like a bad stepchild. I'm going to beat you every single time. I'm going to go on every listing presentation that you think you're going to get, and I'm going to take every darn listing in town. 95% of the time when I make a presentation, I'm going to get a contract signed. I'm going to list 10, 15, 20, 30 homes a month. I have that skill. I have that ability. I have that confidence. What I want is for you to feel the same way. But Mike, I don't want to list 10, 20, 30 homes a month. Okay, let's say you want to list 2 to 3, 4 a month. That's fine. But as we said last week, let's do it in less time, with less energy spent, and less professional in terms of our approach. And let's step up to the plate, because see, I believe that once you understand that you can list 3 to 4 properties every month, following the things that we are teaching you now, once you understand that, and you start taking 3 to 4 listings a month, then you can start taking 5 to 6 listings a month, 7 to 8 listings a month, or like some of the dozens and dozens and dozens of superstars we work with, 10, 20, 30, 40 listings a month. You have it in you. The market's available. We just have to see if we can get you to develop the skill level and the confidence to make it happen. So points 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 today revolve around what we call the listing process. The listing process. And what I did back in the early 1970s, I put together for myself what I called the 5-step listing process. And all it was simply a checklist, a roadmap, a trail for me to follow when I was listing property. And I have to tell you, whenever I followed the process, I got great results. And whenever I wavered and didn't follow the process, for whatever reason, I did not get great results. Oh, there's going to be times when you think you're going to walk in the front door and you don't have to do anything you're supposed to do and you're going to get a listing contract signed. We get cocky, we get egotistical, we get a little full of ourselves, and then all of a sudden, wham, we get hit in the head by a seller who asks us a couple questions that we're not prepared for. Wham, we get hit in the head by a seller who gives us a couple of objections we're not prepared for. So therefore, really, what we're going to talk about today is preparation. Preparing to do your job at the highest level, with the highest amount of skills to get you the highest results. Remember, our goal is by the end of this year to have you listing property 80% of the time. A lot of you will be at 80% by the end of this series at the end of March. You got to know where you are to know where you want to go. And until you know where you are, you'll never figure out where you want to go. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are very simple. Point 11 is always, no exceptions, 100% of the time, pre-qualify every single seller every single time before you go on a listing presentation. No exceptions. But Mike, what about, see, there you go again. You're trying to create an exception. I just said every time, every seller, every time, every seller, 100%, no exceptions, and then what do I get first? Well, what if it's my mother that wants to list her home? No exceptions. Let me tell you why. Your father is a commercial pilot of an airplane for one of the great airlines. And you and your family are flying while he's flying the plane today. Because you're on the plane, do you want him to create an exception and not do the pre-flight checklist? Of course not. Your father is a doctor, and you're brought in for surgery because you're his son or daughter. Would you prefer your father not to follow the procedures to do the surgery? Of course not. See, no exceptions. Now, next week we'll talk about the pre-qualifying questions themselves. But here's what I want you to get real clear on. Step number 11 is I'm going to pre-qualify every seller every single time. But Mike, I'm a little nervous about this. I mean, I don't know exactly if I can do that. And what if they don't want to answer? Hey, role play practice the questions. Okay? You've already downloaded them in week number 1. It was part of the whole listing presentation scripts we gave you. You ask the questions, they will respond. Now, we're going to go through the questions next week one by one to help you learn them. But you have to understand, guys and gals, if you don't pre-qualify, you're cutting your chances down by 75% before you start. Point number 12 today is always mail or deliver a non-ego oriented pre-listing package to the seller. A pre-listing package. I came up with this idea back in the early 70s. I said to myself, how do I speed up the listing presentation? And the answer was very simple. Get as much good, concrete, solid information in their hand before I come to see them as I possibly can. So in the pre-listing package, I'm going to have a list of references. You know, a sheet of paper, 4 or 5 names of people that they can call as a reference to see if I do my job the way I said I'm going to do my job. I'm going to have in there a completed CMA with a suggested list price. But Mike, they may not like the list price you're offering. No. They're not going to like the list price you're offering, period. But I want them to be upset, be mad, be angry, be hostile, yell and scream before I get to the house about the price. So if I get this package to them on Tuesday for a Thursday presentation and they're mad about it on Tuesday on the price, they can't remain mad for 2 days because they have lives to live. Okay? Pre-listing package. I'm going to have, obviously, a list of references. I'm going to have a completed CMA, a completed net sheet, so they know exactly what they're going to receive based on that price. I'm going to have the actual listing contract, all completed with a place for them to sign it by putting a red check mark. Here's a shocker. What if you walk in and they've signed the contract? I guess that cuts the listing presentation down a bit, doesn't it? And this happens all the time to top agents, okay? Because of the pre-listing package and the pre-qualifying. In the pre-listing package, all the disclosure statements, a yellow stickum that says, please review and sign before I get to the house. Very important, okay? And then obviously a copy of the plan of action or marketing plan you use to get a home sold. So point number 12 is, of course, the pre-listing package. Point number 13 under 100 plus thoughts, and this is so important, call back and confirm that they've received the package and they've reviewed it. Now, will some of them get mad when they review the package? Yep. Will some of them get real angry? Yep. Will some of them want to yell and scream? Yep. Is that okay? Of course it is. If they're going to get mad, I want them to get mad before I get to the house versus getting mad when I get to the house. I call back to confirm. Hi, Mrs. Smith, it's Mike Ferry. Did you have a chance to review the package we sent you? Well, yes, we did. And we're very, very upset. Wow, you're kidding. May I ask what you're upset about? Well, that price. You haven't even seen the house, and you set a price that's way below what we wanted. We can't believe you set that price. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Wow, Mrs. Smith. It sounds to me like we better talk about the price the moment I walk in the door tomorrow. Does that make sense to you? Would that be fair? Well, yes, it would. Okay, tell your husband we'll talk about price first. Hi, Mrs. Smith. Did you have a chance to review the package? Well, yes, we did. Great. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Well, before you come out, in that package, you wrote down a 6% commission. Correct. Well, that's we just can't pay a 6% commission. Great. We better talk about the commission the moment I walk in the door. Would that be fair to you? Does that make sense? Well, that makes sense. Okay, great. See, what I want to do is I want to pre-qualify to find out their motivation and everything about them. Send out the pre-listing package to give them some education as to what I'm going to be talking about, price, terms, etc. Then I'm going to call back to confirm to draw out, listen carefully, draw out the objections they have. If I do my job right with this particular point, number 12, I'm going to draw out their objections. I'm going to know what they're going to say to me when I walk in the door. Think about the advantage you have. when you know what the seller is going to say to you on the presentation. Gives you a tremendous advantage. Point number 14, I think we're on 14 if I'm correct on our list, is of course to show up. Now you're going to say, well, Mike, point number 14 on listing properties to show up. Well, of course you're going to show up. I'm talking about showing up physically, mentally, and emotionally, and being 15 minutes early. Show up physically. You're going to be there. We know that. But are you there here? Are you there here? Are you early? Or are you late? Or are you scrambled? Or are you frantic? Are you, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I'm late and I'm so busy? They don't care. They want a professional salesperson that shows up with purpose, that is dedicated to the job, with the discipline of being on time, that knows exactly what to say and what to do. You can do this. You can be the salesperson. Everything I just said can be you. They want a professional person that shows up physically, mentally, and emotionally, and is 15 minutes early. Watch this thought. My appointment's at 7 o'clock. I pull up in front of the house at 6:45. I take out my copies of the pre-listing package, and I review everything that I've sent them so I can be sharp and quick when I walk in the door. I take out my scripts, and I start reading my scripts out loud to myself to get into the rhythm, the pattern. Rhythm and pattern, rhythm and pattern. So I don't walk up awkwardly, hi, how are you? We can't let that happen. See, the rhythm of the listing presentation is important. Practice role play, rhythm. And then, of course, I'm going to go to step 15, is use the scripts that you have. Quit trying to wing it all the time. Quit trying to walk in and just say what's ever on your mind at the time. You know the most dangerous thing to you in terms of your long-term future in commission is not having a good script to use? The most dangerous thing for you is just walking in and kind of winging it. Do you want a doctor to wing it during surgery if something goes wrong? No, you want a professional that has an exact procedure to follow. So watch. I'm going to pre-qualify 100%. I'm going to send out the pre-listing package every single time. Number 12, I am going to call back and confirm. 14, I'm going to show up. And 15, I am going to make sure that I am there physically, mentally, emotionally, using all the scripts, doing my job at the highest level. Now, guys and gals, the 5-step listing process is not complicated. It's certainly not something that you can't learn virtually in the next week or 10 days. So here's the homework assignment for this particular week. All I'm going to ask you to do is review the scripts at least twice a day for the next week. I want you to create what you want to have in your pre-listing package. I want you to create that package so you can sit down and say, this is what it looks like. Now remember, non-ego oriented pre-listing package. Create your package, and if you have a listing appointment this week, I want you to make a solid attempt at asking all the pre-qualifying questions 100%, no matter how they answer, at least once this week. And if you can't do it with the seller once this week, 2 of you get together and practice your pre-qualifying on each other. Hey, it's going to be a great 90 days of working on these thoughts with you. I'll look forward to talking to you next week.